Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening? As you know, I am Isabel Trussell, and this is Not Your Mom's Closet podcast. How is everybody doing? As you know, Andrea's not here with me this evening. I know that we were supposed to be a team, but again, she had to go off and do her stuff. Again, probably some schoolwork. But I'm just going to be here and come and do my podcast for you guys this evening. I'll probably do it more often than she could have done it with me. But this evening's podcast, I'm going to tell you a little bit of story that I was looking into. And I don't know if you guys have heard about this story, but I'm talking about John F. Kennedy's third, I think it was the third child, which is his sister. Her name was, I think, Rosemary. And she was, I guess she was born disabled or something. And she was one of the children that her pregnancy got delayed from her mom. But while that was happening, of her pregnancy getting delayed because the doctors were not available, they were telling her to close her legs so Rosemary would not come to this world. Even though the baby was like I'm ready, let me get out. But other than that, they said because of her being born and being delayed the way she was, she became she became disabled. I have no idea what kind of disability that she had, but all I knew is that her temperament and all that was, I guess, kind of hard to deal with. But I guess it's how we call, like a kid with, anger issues. But again, it's, nowadays we can deal with that, when you're a parent, we can deal with it, now. But back then, all because political reasons, her dad didn't want to deal with it. So he went ahead and took her to a hospital called George Washington. And this happened in November 1941. And they did a lobotomy on her. That's like a huge hole in your forehead, technically. I mean, not in the forehead, but in the top of the forehead. I guess in the head, top of the head. And they put like a little thing, like looks like a butter knife, and they literally, like mess around with your brains. Technically, just I guess like try to destroy half of your brain or whatever. Before they could even do that, they didn't even put no medication on her. They did not put her to sleep. They just, had it all done while she was awake. And that was some excruciating pain, I bet, that lady went through. But I guess it was done. And they use that instrument that they stick on her head and like a butter knife. And they obviously they swirl that around her brain. And obviously, she was singing. She stopped singing because obviously something went wrong. And it went wrong. She couldn't walk. She couldn't speak. She could not be like a regular human. She was like a 2-year-old. Technically 2-year-old. From being a nice, beautiful young lady. I don't know if you guys can look her up, but she was an amazing, good-looking lady. And just because she went out and about to do her thing, in England, I guess it was in England that she went out and about and do her thing, and her dad got so upset, took her to that place. I think that's kind of cruel for a parent to do that, because even though our kids are not perfect, and maybe she just wanted to be normal like everybody else. But obviously, to his knowledge, I think she wasn't good enough to be normal. So went ahead and stuck her in a mental institution, left her there, and had to deal with it. The way she was. She was no longer a regular person, just like, any of us. So it was kind of heartbreaking that they did that to her. And now that I think about it, I go, how come we didn't know about this? But they had it hidden for such a long time that nobody knew about it. So it was kind of heartbreaking, and it's kind of sad to know about that, to deal with something like that. It would break my heart if I would end up doing something like that to my kid. I wouldn't even do anything like that, even if my kid was, unhelpful, like something I can deal with. But I would look for some specialist to help my child, not to make my child become less incompetent than what he already is. There's ways that you can help your child. But anyway, this is the story that I find out about it. I thought that was the most horrifying thing that you could do to a human being, to do that to a person, such a lovely person like her, just because she did not meet the political standards. She was, have that done. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against about these people. I really love, the Kennedys. They have a beautiful story about them, but it's that man that did that damage to his poor daughter. And I guess he was the one that was more messed up, though. If he was doing something like that to his child and watch everybody doing that to her, I was like, damn, that's one sick person. That definitely would make me think that he was the one that was sick from the head. But anyway, another story that I was going to tell you about, since, this is something that I wanted to come over here and tell you about this little short story about her. I think that was so painful and so sad about her, and then thank God she's already in heaven, and she didn't have to deal with this. But I hope when she goes to heaven, she can kick her dad's ass for sure. That's for doing that to her. So by all means, I'm just being me. So anyway, I wanted to come and tell you another story that, again, I was telling my daughter about this Pancho Villa. He also was, I guess like a civil, not like a civil war, but some sort of war they had in Mexico and United States. But he was a real badass person. Badass guy for Mexicano. And pardon me, I just, had to be me. And again, it's just us here doing this podcast. Sorry, Andrea's not here with me, but I'm the one that's doing it, and I'm the one that's trying to be funny in this place here. So this guy technically was real good. They were like getting their ass beat back and forth in the United States just because of this guy, and because he had everything perfectly planned. But again, do you know? If any of you knew who Pancho Villa was, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, okay? Now, Pancho Villa did not have all those weapons and everything that American people had. He just had all the Mexican people, forks. Not the forks, but they look like forks, but those forks from the, what do you call it? From the hay that we used back in the day. They had those. They had the knives, which we call machetes, and they had few had weapons, like rifles and stuff like that. But that's how they fought the war. That's how they fought it. And did they got their ass beat? Yes, they did. But you know why? Because that was people that were willing to fight for their freedom and their choice. And that's one of the things that, I guess I'm not gonna tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you this. Sometimes a lot of people always criticize and say bad things about Latino. By all means, I'm a Latino, and I come from a long history of, European family too, because you can trace us back to medieval age, right? And my daughter did not know that because I said, "Oh yeah, where did you think we got our last name? That's a European name. We're French and we're Spaniards." But again, I told her also, pardon me, I also told her, a lot of people don't know about our history because our history can be raised back in medieval times. We were one of those that I'm honored to say that I think I did saw a book about the Round Table, and her last name was in there. I have no clue because it disappeared after I found it, disappeared. But I would like to know where that book went, so I'll know a little bit more history about my ancestors. But I did tell her not only did we end up being part of those, but we also end up being a part of that Pancho Villa war too, because there were two brothers and one of my uncles, and my great great grandpa was, I think one of the president's winery supervisor that helped him supervise the winery. So we know a little bit about everything. Don't get me wrong. The only thing is that I don't drink it. I mean, I like wine and all, but I just don't drink it. Not that much because I don't. I have. How can I say? I don't have very very flavorful taste of good wine. It's very rare for me to find the perfect wine for me to taste, but I hope I find somebody that would literally donate me nice, delicious wine so I can taste some, because I haven't had any wine in years. So by all means, I'm open to it. But don't get me wrong. I will also, pardon me, I will also think that how can I say, the wine is something that is so delicate to deal with, because I know for a fact it's for someone to taste and have taste buds for it. I'm not. I may be like someone that I love cooking, but I am also like I know it depends on the wine. When you're cooking, you have to have the right wine for the right plate. And I know I'm the kind of person that when I cook, I love to taste a lot of seafood and a lot of foreign food. I love the wine to go with it. But like I said, I haven't tasted any good wine around here. So sadly, I need to go to either Napa Valley or go try it in Baja California, because I heard there's good wine out there, because I know there's good wine. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that Europe might not have some. They probably do. But other than that, like I said, it's just, like I said, it's just history that, went down to my family. And another thing that I was going to tell you about, a little bit of Pancho Villa. He was a very interesting character, for, personality. I had to look in his story so that way I can give you more detail about him. But I want to come here and tell you a little bit about Pancho Villa, not because I'm Latino, but it's because there's a story to him, and he did a lot for his people. And let's talk about a subject that really wanted to let you know that I was also telling her about the Elephant Man. A lot of people don't know about him, but I do know about him because I heard a story about the Elephant Man when I was a young girl, when I was a teenager, and it was a beautiful story about him. But it was because of a disease that deformed his body, which we all know there's a lot of different diseases out there. Obviously, we have so many that we have no clue what they are, or how they come up, and to the point that we just starting to find out, like this chicken or monkeypox. Monkeypox. Pardon me, monkeypox. Who knew about this? We didn't know. It's a disease, or it's a virus. I have no clue what it is, or like this COVID virus too. All these things are just popping up out of the blue, and I'm like thinking, is it because climate control that all this is happening, or it's just coming out just like that? Because if you guys think about it, sometimes I think it's just probably because everything is so warm, even to where Alaska and all that, it's so warm that all this is like even parasites and all that are coming out in the open. We're finding out more and more stuff that we have no clue of, but because of weather, it's just not to the point that it's not like it was before. It's completely changed, and that's something we we either got to think about it, or maybe it's just I mean, my thought. But it is the fact that a lot of the climate control has to do with it because of all the rainforest being killed and being chopped and all that. We wouldn't have to deal with all this, but now we have to deal with this because we have all that people chopping the trees from the rainforest and burning trees here and there, and just not living nature the way it should be. And I'm not saying nothing about it. It's just that's probably one of the things that I think that's why we're getting either all this stuff that is happening to us, and a lot of people, I guess, either they think about it or they don't. But I'm just one of the persons that I do think about it, because otherwise we would not be like this. Things would not have been like this. But again, it's a topic that I really, really was telling my daughter, that Elephant Man was something that I was like very interested in, looking his history story about, because it really made an impression on me when I was 14, when I saw his history, his stuff on, I think it was a program that they had in school while I was in school. And I love to hear about it. And they had even, I think, a program that was videotaped for his disease or whatever he had. And it was interesting. So I wanted to know more about it. But since we were, back in the day, we're teenagers, we really don't care. We just move on and do our thing. So now that I'm older, I'm going to do some search on him. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to come here, and since this channel started off with a little history and all that, and I'm not very fond of the horror stuff, but I will try every now and then to bring you something scary. If I can bring Andrea to come and do the scary stuff with me, I can come over here and do you something scary. But I will talk to you about some history that maybe you might heard or maybe you haven't heard. But I'm going to talk history, American history, and a little bit of Spanish, Latino history. I hope you guys enjoy, my podcast when I come over here and tell you a little bit of both, histories, and I hope you guys like it, because I really want to come over here and I really want you guys to enjoy my podcast, because it's something that I love to do for you guys. And I was trying for my daughter to love it, but she's not really fond of doing all this. As you can tell by her tone of voice, she's like, first she gets all hyped up, and then she gets, like she don't really want to do it. But I'm constantly doing, I do my own, which is in Spanish. But again, I want to come and do this with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy my podcast here with you guys every other day. I will try to do it twice a week, so you can come here more often and listen to me. I would try very hard to do it more often than twice a week. I would try to do it like probably the whole entire week. But again, I just, want to see how, you as my audience and my listeners would love my podcast. I would gladly appreciate it if you stay tuned and forgive us for not doing so much podcast. But again, Andrea was not really open to it. She just did it because I literally just begged her to come over here. So I'm sorry, she's out of the podcast, even though she's a lot fun to talk to. But again, you can't force your kids to do a lot of stuff for you. So I guess we have to try our best and try to just go with the flow and see what they can do for us. So please bear with me, and I hope you guys like I said, my podcast. I would talk to you about history stuff, like I said, both ways, American history and Spanish history. So I hope you guys like it, like I said. And again, I was like overwhelmed with that Elephant Man history. It was interesting to know about him and about what had happened to him. And like I said, I'm gonna search on his information a little bit more, and I'm going to tell you a little story about him personally, his personal life and everything, because I know there has to be a story about him, because there's, like I said, he made an impact in my life, and I really like the story about him, because I did, back in the 80s, there was a show about him, And like I said, he impacted my life, and he made me like things like that. So I hope you guys will stay tuned, and I hope you guys will come and listen to this podcast with me. Like I said, I'm Isabel Trussell, and this is Not Your Mom's Closet Podcast. Thank you. You guys have a great evening, and I will see you in, I guess, probably Monday evening or afternoon. So I will be here later on. Thank you. Bye-bye.